Once upon a time, in a notable village called Ugomma, there was a beautiful girl named Ugomma who was born with a scar on her face. Because of the scar, everyone in the village deserted her and never associated with her. Her siblings were always scared of her, as they thought it was a disease and it could be contagious. They don't eat from the same plate. She wasn't allowed to be close to them as they saw her to be a disaster. Ugomma was also alone. She was beautiful, but nobody could ever notice her beauty because of the scar. She was very kind hearted and generous. Her kind hearted made her regard everyone equally. She never had a friend. One day she saw a little girl crying on the road path. She was on her way back from the stream. She stopped and asked the little child what was wrong and why she was crying. The little girl continued crying. Hey, my little friend, what is the matter and why are you crying like this? The little girl pointed towards a direction. She had no option than to follow her because she thought the little child could be harmed if she left her on her own. The girl brought her to an old man who was very hungry and looked sick. She asked him what the problem was. He only mentioned food. She was compassionate just as the little girl. She asked if the little child was her granddaughter. He said she was just passing by and saw him begging for food. The little child had compassion on him as she was too young to have anything to give to him. She began to look for people to help him, which broke her heart to cry. That made Ugomma like the little girl even more and became more emotional. She hastily walked home and dropped the pot of water. She sneaked out with some food, hid on her clothes. She asked the little child to wait for her from a distance. Nobody cares what she does and where she goes because she was more like invincible to her sisters. Tochi and Neka, her sisters, hated the sight of her as her face was very disgusting and irritating to them seeing the big scars. She rushed with the little child to the old man as he looked very famished. He gave him the food and watched him rush the food like someone who had been starving for years and like someone who just returned from a war front and was starving. She asked the little child where she lived. She said she had no one. Her stepmother brought her and left her here, and she's too young to know her way back home as they came from far. Ugomma was compassionate. That made her took the little girl with her. She brought her home, but she was almost rejected by her sisters. She pleaded and cried that they would stay out of their ways as usual, but they shouldn't send neither her nor the little child away. They couldn't care less about her or her existence, so she was allowed to stay with the girl. Every single day, Ugomma would sneak out with the little child to bring food to the old man in the same spot. One day, while she was feeding the man, her curiosity drove her into asking the man about herself and his family. If his children couldn't take care of her or wash him, the food tears dropped from her eyes. She was forced to ask the man where he lives. Perhaps she can go plead on his behalf and ask his family for forgiveness if he has ever wronged them in any way. The man always said he has nowhere and no one to call family and he has no place to stay. That got her so emotional and teary. The little child felt for him too. However, Goma was more like a slave in their house because the only chance a sibling gave her was to allow her stay in the house. When Ugomma was still a child, she was her mother's favorite because her mother felt pity for her, which made her channel all her love to her because of that, as though she already knew life would be tough for her. She would carry her around and sing for her when she was 3. Her mother will always sing and dance with her almost every day. She was the last after her father died. Our other siblings were jealous for the fact that she had a big, ugly, disgusting scar on her, which she was born with, yet she was still her mother's favorite. So we watched her mother play with her as a child. When her mother died, she was all alone, always sad and lonely. Because of the hatred and maltreatment from her older sister, they vented all their anger on her when their mother died because her mother chose to love her more than her siblings. Ugomma grew up to become a dancer because she was taught how to dance since she was a child by her late mother. She dances everywhere. When she's sent to fetch water from the stream, she will dance. She will dance in the house while sweeping or doing any chores. Ugomma was always with the little child, and her name was Tochi. She was surprised because her elder sister's name was Tochi, but the little girl told her she's never and nothing like her elder sister. She's loving and kind hearted just like her. She's compassionate and not as heartless and wicked as her sister. The little child always thinks of her being different from her sister. She didn't want to be as wicked as her elder siblings because she sees the way they always maltreat her. Ugomma didn't take the serious words of a little child to heart. Rather, she laughed over it. The little Tochi was her only friend and companion, and more like a baby sister to her. Ugomma has never been so heartbroken like the day she heard her sisters denying her. Several times they have always denied her not to be their sister and their family members. They tell whoever that cares to listen that she's a slave they are just helping and she's not their sister. That always broke Ugomma's heart, and she will cry bitterly in her closet. One night she was crying and she said to herself, I was born like this, and God knows I didn't create it myself. If God says this was how I was going to be born, then I can't do anything about it. I really don't know what I'm doing wrong here, that everybody hates me, especially my own sisters. She cried to sleep that night. Every time she brings food to the old man, he will tell them a story of an old man who was looking for something which made him disguise himself and found a young, compassionate lady who took pity on him. And when he found out whom he really was, she was shocked to the bone, and the young lady was rewarded accordingly. Ugomma and the little Tochi always enjoyed the story, and they will stay with him till night every day. After she's done with all the chores, she will sneak out with food to the old man. One day she was walking along the village road with her little Tochi when someone approaches her and thought she had given birth out of wedlock. And who is that blind man who sees you like this and impregnated you and left you in this ugly condition with another load? She said angrily and left. Ugomma was always with little Tochi as she adopted her to be her baby sister. One fateful morning, Ugomma sneaked out with food as usual to bring to the poor old man, but was caught by her elder sister Tochi. She asked her where she was always going after her course. Ugomma didn't say nothing because she was terrified when Tochi saw her with a plate of food. Whom are you taking my food to? Is this what you've been doing all this while? So you now have a boyfriend that you take my food to? Answer me now, or I smash your head and face to the wall together. Tochi's voice trembled. Her anger spread like wildfire, which sent fear down her spine. Goma began to plead, but before she would say anything, the two sisters were already pounding her like a traditional marriage pounder yam to be served to the guest. Used to be useless thing with an ugly scar. So you think you can stay in my house because it's mine now as the oldest and feed a man. Now take that bastard you picked from nowhere and get out of this house, or you will see your corpse in the village market square. Ugomma knew it wasn't just a threat, but a threat she would carry out. She begged the two elder sisters, but they were very adamant. They beat her out of the house and threw her away things with the little girl. Ugomma wasn't worried for herself but for the little Tochi, whom she had adopted as her baby sister. She cried profusely, but no one would listen to her plea. She took the little girl and went to meet the man. She was worried about the man, knowing he was expecting his food because she was certain he will bring. A very hungry man will be waiting for her. That fateful morning she arrived at their usual spot, but she met the man in a different condition. She tried to apologize to the old man for not bringing him food, but the old man seems not to be bothered about that. Ugomma, I want you to escort me somewhere out of town so we can return before nightfall, the old man pleaded. She had no option but to oblige as the old man kept insisting. They walked a very long distance. Little thought she was tired, but she carried her on her shoulder while they continued their journey until they arrived. They arrived at a very mighty and beautiful mansion. Ugomma has never seen anything so beautiful and magnificent in her life before as that. She was so scared. When she looked at the old man and asked what they are doing here, the old man kept smiling without uttering a word. He knocked at the gate. Ugomma was most shocked when he saw the security guard came out and bowed him, greeting him. They opened the gate wide for them to come in. They got inside the house. The old man told them to sit. Ugomma was more scared because she had never seen anything as beautiful as the house before. She carried a little baby on her head and her leg and was still standing. The old man walked inside. An hour later, the old man came out looking very different, neat and well dressed with a very handsome man by his side. She's never seen such a fine man before all her life, and looking also magnificent in their attire. Ugomma couldn't believe her eyes and could barely recognize the old man anymore. He asked the domestic staff to prepare food of all kinds for them, but she said she's not ready because everything looks so strange to her. Ugomma, the old man called. You can try to calm down. The old man tried to calm her down, narrating to her that he was once a king due to the pressure from his elder brother, who was dragging the throne with him, and swore over his dead body to remove him from the surface of the earth and his family if he doesn't let go of the throne. He had no option but to relinquish the throne and left with his only son after the death of his loving wife. Ugomma was still lost as nothing was making sense to her and wasn't understanding anything that's going on. She reflected on those times she would bring him food and ask him where he used to sleep because he can't certainly be sleeping by the bush. He went on to say he's a very rich man, and the man by his side is his son he left the village with when he was still young. He disguised himself to be an old beggar to get a wife suitable for his son, and to furthermore, his son has been aware of everything from the beginning. Ugomma got a goosebumps all over her body. She held a little baby very tight for consolation. The old man told her she's never seen a kind-hearted young lady like her before, and she's the one for his son. He walked up to her and stretched his hands towards her. Hello, I'm Udoka. Please, will you marry me? The son said, going down his knees. Ugomma was short of words because nobody has ever been nice to her or spoken to her before in such a manner with her birthmark, which she was born with. Udoka and her father saw the enticing beauty behind that big ugly scar. Ugomma had no option but to accept the marriage proposal because she knew that she had nowhere to go to. The old man was her friend before, and that gave her confidence that she was safe. She thought of the fact that she had nowhere to go to or no one to fall back to. Udoka's cuteness was extremely enticing and irresistible that melted Ugomma's heart. A few months later, Ugomma returned from surgery and wasn't able to recognize herself anymore. She was taken for a plastic surgery. Ugomma was overwhelmed by her beauty. Ugomma became the most beautiful lady they have ever set eyes on. Her beauty was astonished as she glows. Ugomma adopted the little baby as a child when she got married to Udoka, the rich son of Chief Chima, who was once her old beggar friend. One day, Ugomma stood at the mirror and was teary as she reflected on every terrible thing that has happened to her in the past, and told her husband, seeing that she now lives in luxury and being the wife of daughter-in-law to such a great man. She said the only time she ever felt she was a human was when she met Chief Chima because he will always make her laugh with a story. She cried uncontrollably. That got her husband emotional by her story. That got him teary. One day she decided to visit her sisters, accompanied by her husband. When they arrived at their compound, Nobody could recognize her. She pretended to be a stranger just passing by and asked if that was Ugomma's compound and how she can meet her. Tochi and her other sister laughed very hard and told her they don't know anyone by such name. And if she must know, she should go into the forest or road or wherever is possible to find Ugomma the ugly wretch. For all they know, she's already dead, wandering about the bush and village. The lady smiled tearfully, and so was her husband. She revealed herself to be Ugomma, the sister they thought impractically happy was dead. That sounded like the latest joke of the year to them. They find it very hard to believe. Ugomma began to reminisce on all the ugly things she'd experienced from them since she was a child, and how they threw her out to the streets. And as she expected, her instincts told her they thought she was dead and would be happy. But how? How? I mean, Nena stuttering. How I've changed like this? No more ugly with a big ugly scar? And how I became this beautiful? Yes, this is my husband. I am no longer the ugly, rich girl with a big scar, but a rich daughter-in-law to Chief Chima. Goma, they both fell to the ground and cried on their knees and asked for forgiveness. Goma became so emotional, and because she was always compassionate, just like her husband, she told them she'd forgive them, but no longer part of their family. Goma left them there. A few months after, she became pregnant and gave birth to a beautiful girl, and gave her husband a beautiful girl and her daughter, Tochi, a younger sister. Tochi and Udoka lived happily ever after. Truly, the most ugliest thing can become the most beautiful. Moral lesson is being compassionate and kind-hearted can open the most hardest door for you. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Click on the notification bell so you can always be notified by a new story. Thank you.